Welcome friends to another Dune video. Today we look at Dune's Imperium, what holds it and the various opposing factions together, the class system, which we will explain. Let's get straight into it. A common name for this system is the Farfaluches. The point of it was to provide a system that allowed humanity to function together and preserve human life, especially important in light of the Butlerian Jihad, where humanity freed themselves from the chains of the machines, but many lives were lost doing it and during it. The system would have to encompass both order and civility, and keep each faction working with the rest for the betterment, some would say, of all. The motto around this is, a place for every man, and every man in his place. The bones of this power structure lies in the great and minor houses, their fiefs and the emperor. Due to the planets colonized by man spread through the known universe and only linked by the Spacing Guild, there has to be a central figure to provide focus and direction for people's lives. That person is the emperor. The fiefs and therefore the running of the planets fell to the great houses, who in theory ran these for the emperor. Such a fief was granted to the great house indefinitely by the emperor, apart from an important planet like Arrakis, whose ownership might pass from family to family, depending on who the emperor favoured. But they can fall back into the emperor's hands if he says a house has failed somehow, though this was rare. When granted a fief, the ruler would then have imperial protection if the Great Convention was violated against them, such as in house-to-house disputes. The fief would also give the house membership of the Landsraad and power within Chom, which moves the goods around the Imperium. The fief also gives guild-approved shipping privileges and immunity from imperial interference. The house given this fief must agree to the title of vassal and swear fealty to the emperor. This includes providing a levy of troops when requested. The emperor's Sardaukar did not have to rely on the levy's help. They were more cannon fodder to go before the Sardaukar. The emperor can enforce his decisions not only through them, but also has massive melange stockpiles and atomics to match all the other houses combined, a strong motivation to work within the Imperium's rules. The Lord and Lady of a planet had to be seen as governors of the planet, and so had to make certain social conditions were in place, which was an enforcement of the class system, of its privilege and rank, and so each person would enforce that on those below them, protecting their position from the top down through the great houses, merchants, and down to the servants and slaves. On the other side of this, the emperor's royal household have the responsibilities of managing feudal dues, obligations and tithes, and the day-to-day working of the many departments that made up the Imperium. The emperor himself would hear reports and conferences where he would need to employ many mentats to record what was said and decided. As well as having a place for everyone, there was a little social mobility allowed. This relied on two factors, your family status and the doors that status opened up. If you had the potential to be a mentat, this could be a way out. You could get a high position through working for a great house, for example. You could be trained through the correct schools or more riskily at the hands of the Tleilaxu. Another opening that carried greater risk was through the military. You could rise through to be a commander, general, and master of assassins, and the other way, if you had the financial clout, was to buy your way up. You could do this through being involved with new products through legitimate means or through smugglers, and then buy titles or better status to elevate your minor house. There were, of course, certain exceptions to people living outside of the system, such as the Fremen on Arrakis and to a degree the Sardaukar, who are not really given a choice in it. I also feel that despite their trade, this applies to the Tleilaxu, who were very isolationist in attitude. The Landsraad we mentioned earlier are a body for the great houses and a counter to the Emperor's Sardaukar, in theory. In practice, this allowed them to act as a self-policing agency, so that the Emperor's blades would not be required after all, should a house or two fall to them. It would destabilise the Landsraad's power. They also oversaw changing of fiefs, canly vendettas, and war of assassins. The last leg of power is the Spacing Guild. It mainly held its power due to its monopoly on interstellar travel and the transport of goods between planets, and outwardly it was allied to the Emperor. And to go on a brief tangent, think what the guilds could potentially do if they sought a change in power, isolate a planet economically by stopping sales of goods such as the Atreides selling moonfish to other planets of the Imperium, or the Shigawire taken from Seleucus Secundus, and over time breaking them financially, and possibly leading to the planet having deepening fighting and a civil war. Or stopping any off-world travel, allowing other forces allied with them to surround or go down to the planet, and from orbit they could supply endless troops to be sent down to hurt the planet, with the planet itself not being able to travel anywhere or escape it. It's almost like a siege where there is nowhere outside your castle to go to. Back to our discussion, and so all communication, travel, trade and military operations needed the guild's approval. No planet wanted to break the guild's peace and lose that. Even the Emperor sometimes needed smugglers to try and get around the guild's control, but the guild itself was also bound in some ways by a fear that they could someday be made obsolete by advancements in technology from the Ixians of the Tleilaxu, and the justified fear that they could be cut off from the spice and lose their ability to navigate, ensuring they kept the arrangement with the other two parts of the Imperium. The Carinos and the Landsraad, therefore, was very important to them. Now, friends, I turn this over to you. Do you have any further insights into this topic? Do you feel one of the legs of power could easily get sway over the others? Have you been exposed to spice and turned into a guild navigator? Comment down below.